Hey there, it's me back on the TSD Thoughts channel. It was once called TSD2, it's now TSD Thoughts. I've been thinking a lot recently about the term media literacy. I think it's fallen victim to something I want to call discourse poisoning. I'm gonna sound like someone giving a bad presentation, but Webster's dictionary defines media literacy as the ability to critically analyze stories presented in the mass media and to determine their accuracy or credibility. So you can see how it's an important term, and it's something that's been thrown around a lot because people generally don't have very strong senses of media literacy. That's not to be like judgmental. I think it's just a side effect of the fact that our education system, especially in the US, is kind of poopy. So a lot of people don't learn to analyze media critically, or when they do, it's not taught in a way that actually promotes that way of thinking, but rather just tells people how to think. A lot of people learn about media literacy in English class when their teacher tells them that this is what this means in this story, and like this is the conch shell, I've never known how to pronounce that right, but the shell represents order in society, and like when it like breaks, that's like a metaphor for when like society breaks. Lord of the Flies is used as like baby's first literary device very often for a reason. It's a very obvious way to represent it. But what I'm talking about is like the letter of the thing is taught, but not the framework with which to look at it through necessarily. And I guess my point with all that is because we are seeing so much discussion around media literacy and what it means, and like what it means to be media literate. And I think that rightfully, a lot of people are calling for more people to be media literate. Because for the most recent example, the one that is driving so many things is the example of Poor Things and Dune 2. The way media literacy is coming to play with Dune 2, I'll use that because that's the more safe for work version. So like spoilers for Dune 2. In that movie, which is adapting the second half of the book, no shocker, it follows this kind of typical like hero's journey pathway for a character, kind of a messiah archetype thing, but it's purposefully subverting that because the point is that Paul, the main character, the messiah character, is a false prophet, sort of, or is false in the sense that he was created to be a prophet by a like secret society that has implanted prophecies in different cultures for thousands of years, and he's just exploiting that so that he can become the emperor and eventually create a holy war that kills billions of people. It's bad, basically. And the reason that media literacy is coming to play is because people are seeing this story and they're not understanding that it's meant to be a critique, and so they're like rooting for Paul, or on the alternate end they're saying that the story is a white savior narrative when that's what it's criticizing. To be clear, there are things to criticize about Dune and how it relates to race. I'm not saying that's not the case, but it is kind of interesting to see that like there's these discussions going back and forth about this. But I think that the thing that a lot of people are missing about this topic is that the people who are like misunderstanding Dune are just like a loud minority. I like to think people generally get it, but people are talking about this widespread plague of like media illiteracy kind of a thing, and they're not doing anything that's worthwhile with it. They're not saying like, oh, here's how you can like learn, how you can take that opportunity to learn more about how to process stories, which is concerning to me because it feels more like a what my friend Pillar of Garbage likes to call the dunk incentive, where you're doing something and you're having a conversation with someone online, not for the sake of actually exchanging ideas or furthering a point, but for getting like social media points because you epically owned the person and you destroyed them with facts and logic. And the other part of the media literacy thing is that I'm starting to see people misuse the term. It's kind of become, in some circles, to some people, a way to justify and defend people not getting something nor criticizing something that has problematic elements. What was a recent example? I'm trying to think. Oh, Has Been Hotel. That was a recent example. Hazbin Hotel is a show that generated a lot of controversy for like a constant spinning wheel for like the last 5 years or so. At any given point, you can peek into Hazbin Hotel fan spaces and there's always something going on. The show like actually came out. Because for those of you who don't know, Hazbin Hotel is a series about sinners in hell who are trying to be redeemed through a like hotel run by the princess of hell. It's a project that is started by a YouTube creator and has been in the works for like I think 10 years or something like that, and it's generated a very passionate fan base around it, which I can understand, because it's got very colorful character designs, it's got beautiful animation, the characters are interesting outside of their designs, the premise is compelling, the world is interesting. There's a lot to like about it. But personally, a little bit of my review, it was very mixed for me because I thought it was kind of all over the place in terms of quality and storytelling and pacing and a bunch of small things, but like nothing that's like world ending in my mind. But people were criticizing the way that one of the storylines handles a main character called Angel Dust, how it handles content. I should have put a content warning in the beginning. I'll put a content warning in the beginning. Handles him getting SA'd. There was discussion about it because people felt that it was a bit exploitative, or that it was being treated with a certain level of levity that they weren't comfortable with, or comparing the fact that earlier in another episode, someone else had gotten assaulted in a similar way, but it was played as a joke instead. And I saw criticism of that, and then I saw criticism of the criticism that was saying, oh, you're just too media illiterate to not understand that depiction does not equal endorsement. Like, it's fine because you're media illiterate, kind of a thing. I'm not going to get into the weeds of that whole actual specific discussion, but it was a bit concerning to me to see media literacy being used as a justification to shut down a conversation around something. Because I think that there was a worthwhile discussion to have in that scenario that could lead to like ideas about like maybe they could do this differently, or maybe they shouldn't do this differently, blah 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 blah. Again, not going to get into the weeds of it, but I worry that that's an example where people are going to start using media literacy, or already have started using media literacy as a way to just say, oh, you don't get it because you're media illiterate. And I feel like the word's starting to lose its meaning a little bit. And I worry about that because media literacy is a very important tool and a very important thing to discuss. And it is something that we should be discussing more and encouraging people to engage with and learn about, because social media is media and we kind of just communicate through media almost exclusively nowadays. And so I feel like media literacy is something that should be discussed and we should be worrying about. But at the same time, I worry that it's being turned into like an internet word, quote unquote. Like, not literally, but it's going through the same process that a lot of words are being used. Words like discourse or trauma dumping or problematic, things that have been like internet poisoned a little bit. I'm just concerned, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at with this video. And I think people should try to focus on learning what media literacy is before talking about it. And when they do learn what it is, they should have conversations with people about becoming more media literate, and people should get together and work on that. I kind of don't really know how to end this video, but I hope that this was like somewhat interesting, like thoughtful. It's just something I've been thinking about recently, and I'm someone who's very focused on how media discourse and how that interacts with stuff, and I worry that it's going to become something that is more of a game rather than an actual discussion if we let it. Yeah, I don't know. That's about that. Depending on when you're watching this video, when it comes out, my show is still happening. The third episode should have just is about to come out, or has just come out. I'll put a link to that in the description. Check that out. It has some special guest stars and stuff like that, some friends of mine, and I've been working hard on it. I've also got plans for the main channel that are going to be happening like May, June, July, that kind of area. Subscribe to this channel, follow social medias and stuff like that, all that. Yeah. I don't know, be media literate and don't be bad. Have a good one, guys. See ya.